Ladies and gentlemen, it is now my distinct pleasure to invite our first keynote speaker to the stage. Please join me in welcoming Ms. Delia Ferreira Rubio, Chair of Transparency International, the leading global anti-corruption organization with the Secretariat in Berlin and national chapters in more than 100 countries, including Slovenia.
Thank you very much for organizing this very important conference, and thank you for the creation of the network. I think this is really a step forward in the fight against corruption because it is collective action, and for that we need cooperation and coordination. And I have to recognize that this movement from you, the agencies and commissions against corruption, is very important. It's not the first one. The Pacific Anti-Corruption Commissions had long ago created this kind of network and collective harmonization of the work. So thank you very much for that idea, and I wish you all success in what you have in front of you. And thank you for having civil society here in this conference, because, as we say, this is the work of the whole society. So all actors are important in the fight against corruption. You, the commissions, cannot do this alone. You need public sector, private sector, but also individual citizens and civil society organizations. And strengthening integrity in all sectors of society is not just a mere exercise. It is key to guarantee the effectiveness and the capacity of democracies to really deliver on the promises. One of the factors that impacts the lack of trust in institutions, particularly political institutions, is the impossibility of some democracies to deliver on the promises that democracy means for citizens. But it is also key to rebuild trust, not only trust in the institutions, trust among citizens. And this is a very challenging moment, as we will see in a moment, in terms of building trust or rebuilding trust. And also, strengthening integrity is key for, of course, preventing, detecting, and sanctioning corruption. Corruption has become, in these last 30 years, Transparency is this year celebrating its 30th anniversary, corruption has become more sophisticated, not invisible, as the President of the Assembly said, but opaque, which is not the same, more complex. We have new actors participating in corrupt deals, particularly very important because they change the nature of the consequences of corruption, the participation of organized crime in corruption. And we also see that the phenomenon has become transborder. 30 years ago, corruption was a synonym of bribery, local, national. It has nothing to do with the foreign world. But globalization, with all its positive things, means also a change in terms of corruption. And grand corruption appears as one central phenomenon that it is very much difficult to tackle and detect and prevent than the ordinary bribery within the limits of a country. Nowadays, with the new geopolitical scenario that we are facing, we are seeing another new type of corruption, a very dangerous one, which is strategic corruption. corruption used by certain countries, particularly kleptocratic countries or authoritarian countries, used to influence policy and economy around the world. And this strategic, very powerful corruption is, of course, like a new animal in the zoo of corruption, which challenges all of us to really be prepared to face the new characteristics of these criminal activities. There is not a single characteristic of democracy that it is not affected by corruption. Think of representative democracy. Can you answer the question who the representatives are representing really? Are they representing us, the voters, the electors, or are they representing the interest of those who finance their campaigns? Think about equality. Are we really equal in context of corruption, where clientelism, nepotism, or simply the buying of public policies is the rule? Do we have the same access, all citizens, or there are some privileged undue influencers? Think about common good. Democracy is the government for the common good. Are public policies oriented to the public good, really? Or are they the way in which we give back favors that politicians receive beforehand in the campaigns or in the creation of a political career? Are elections really fair and competitive when there is corruption, not only in public or private financing of the campaign, but in the whole scenario of deep fake influence from foreign countries, the troll armies that are influencing elections? But the costs of corruption are not only measured in financial terms or in terms of billions or trillions. The money that is lost to corruption is the money that is missing in education, health, infrastructure, sustainability, in terms of the future of our population. And also, corruption costs lives, and this is not just a narrative. Think about the Beirut blast, for instance. It destroys neighbors of the city. A lot of people were damaged, harmed, lose their homes, or were killed. And corruption was in the basis. There had been for 30 or 20 years someone signing the certificates to certify that everything was okay. It was visible, but it was opaque. And corruption was at the center of the problem. And it cost life. Think about the Turkey earthquake. It is measured and studied that even natural disasters are much more harmful in contexts of corruption. Have a look at what happened with the urbanization legislation and regulation in the Turkey. And corruption was there at the center of the problem. And we all see what happened. And I can keep on giving examples. Think about the fires in the textile factories in Bangladesh many years ago. Everything was perfect. All certificates were signed. Safety was guaranteed. Thousands of people, workers, died in those fires because of corruption. But corruption is a global problem. The money that is lost to corruption in the global south, where I come from, in Argentina, or in Africa, in Latin America, the money lost there to corruption ends in the City of London, in the real estate industry in New York, in the art market in Switzerland, in the luxury industry in France. Those countries that perform very well in our corruption perception index are enablers of corruption in a way. And not only the countries, the authorities, but also many professionals that really change the nature of their activity from being gatekeepers for integrity to becoming enablers of corruption. That's why coordinated efforts are important. That's why the Global North has a responsibility in the fight against corruption. But we can have all the laws and we can create all the organizations and commissions and hopefully give those commissions the independence, the resources, the authority to do their work, and even have no guarantee of success in the fight against corruption. Because to guarantee that success, we need really to create a culture of integrity, not only in the public sector, not only in the private sector, but across the whole society. And to create that culture of integrity, we have to reconstruct the somewhat broken social basic consensus on what's right and what's wrong, what will be tolerated and what's not being tolerated, what have to be done and what should be avoided. And this consensus is the foundation for the success and long-lasting success in the fight against corruption. What we have to do is to integrate integrity. Integrity is not only the responsibility of you, the anti-corruption commissions, or the anti-corruption NGOs. We have to integrate integrity across all sectors of government, all sectors and functions within the corporate world. We have to integrate integrity in schools, and I celebrate that the Commission is doing a great work on education. In a society that values integrity and acts accordingly, there is no place for abuse of power. In a society that respects integrity, there is no space for undue influence. In a society that respects the values of integrity, there is no space for impunity. And this is central because the culture of integrity is the culture of the consequences. There are consequences, and no impunity is one central piece in that consequence. Creating a culture of integrity is not the result of a decree or a law, and pledges are not enough. Narrative are not enough. Speeches are not enough. We need to commit to integrity. And to rebuild trust, we need to restore the value of truth. And probably this is the most challenging task we face nowadays. In a time of alternative truth, in a time of fake news, in a time of deep fakes, which only enlarge and strengthen and make more worrying the lack of trust. Think about deep fake used in political campaigns. Who will trust what? We live in an era of disinformation and misinformation and manipulation of the information. And that generates a great problem with truth and with the possibility to restore trust. But to recover the value of truth, in order to get trust, we need transparency. And transparency is, as a movement against corruption, is not just information. Transparency is integrity. That's why, to restore trust, we need truth, and for that, we need transparency. Let's work together to rebuild trust and better our democracies. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Ferreira Rubio, for your invaluable insights. As you pointed out, strengthening public integrity is essential for preventing corruption, achieved through rules, standards, and practices that address conflict of interests, uphold the rule of law, safeguard public resources, and combat undue influence in public decision-making. However, it takes two to engage in corruption, highlighting the need for both the public and private sectors to adhere to integrity standards. Cultivating culture of integrity within society requires collective action involving all sectors and individuals to play their part.